Well, another Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump debate has come and gone, and this is going to be the last one before the election in about 20 days, or somewhere about that time. Now, this one, despite my anticipation, was actually better than the previous two were. The first one was pretty much a mess. The second one was an unbelievable mess. But this one was actually a lot better. They actually stuck to issues more, particularly as it relates to Donald Trump, stuck to issues more rather than just name-calling. However, we did see some pretty blatant dishonesty by both candidates, as you imagine they would. This is bourgeois politics. It's interesting to note how Hillary kept using other countries to attack Trump, the same way that he did before, and that other people before him have done, particularly with connections to the Chinese. So what Hillary did was she accused Trump of using illegally dumped Chinese steel in his buildings. I don't think she knows, but China produces about 50% of the world's steel. So you imagine if you're literally half of the world's market, a lot of it might end up inside the United States. Just FYI. But again, linking him to China again, same thing with his exporting jobs. Although he is a total hypocrite on complaining about exporting jobs when he himself actually does it. But it's interesting how she kept trying to connect him to China. Especially when it came to Roe v. Wade, when she brought up how Trump was pro-life. And tried to do this whole thing where she kind of connected it to forced abortions in China. Now, I dealt with this completely false claim back in 2011. Now, you would think that if all women were forced to have abortions and weren't allowed to have more than one kid, you think the whole country would know about that. I mean, China's like, what? More than 1 billion people? So you would think that more than 500 million people being women, that, maybe it might be a bit of a larger story than some kind of big secret. And it was interesting, when I went through that, they found a case of one Christian pastor forcing his wife to have an abortion. Thus, half of the entire population of China is forced to go through a medical procedure that they don't want to go through. I mean, if it's forced, I'm guessing they would be against it. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, even the cost alone of doing something like that is absolutely astronomical. It's simply ridiculous. It's trying to take, North Korea-style accusations and apply it to China, and then connect them to Donald Trump. Again, the whole thing is really, it's frankly ridiculous. And Trump again took all the accusations against him, sexual misconduct, the tapes of him talking about grabbing women, and then just pretending like it doesn't mean anything. Or in the cases of many of the accusations against him, just claim it never happened. Oh, they're just looking for the 15 minutes. Hillary Clinton created it. Or like claiming that the Democratic Party was responsible for the violence at some rallies because they supposedly paid them to do so. I don't think it takes much to recognize that politics is very polarized in the United States at this time, and there is going to be violence. Like, say, I don't know, Trump supporters beating people up, spitting in their faces, forcing them out of conventions and rallies, as we've already seen. So who is Trump really to complain about violence? I'd imagine there's probably violence on both sides, like the recent GOP office that was firebombed by unknown assailants. But here's the one I really love the most. How Hillary Clinton kept trying to connect Putin to Trump in order to attack Trump. And she did it over and over and over again, as if this was going to be some big selling point. There's collusion between Donald Trump and Putin because Putin kind of likes him, and therefore same thing. It's a total logical fallacy. But here's what I thought was really interesting. Donald Trump doesn't want to go to war with Putin. He prefers to have better relations with Russia for trade rather than constantly going to war. So therefore, Trump and Putin are in some kind of alliance and shadow government and quasi-conspiratorial BS. I I wonder, would it take some kind of conspiracy for people to not want World War III? Because that's the only rational explanation. We must be going against Russia, quasi new Cold War kind of rhetoric. So if somebody doesn't want to go to war with Russia, they must be in a secret alliance or a conspiracy with them. I mean, come on, this is, McCarthy level garbage. Believe it or not, I think most of the world's population has an interest in there not being a third world war, particularly the people who might end up dying in it. But you can really see here what she's trying to do. We must be at war with Putin. We must be at war with Russia. And if you don't agree with us doing that, well, then you must be one of them. It's that old terrorist, you're either with us or against this Bush era kind of rhetoric. And I thought that was very interesting. But again, this is bourgeois politics, and it doesn't really mean anything overall. What we have is contradictions from among the ruling class, because there are very large bourgeoisie who have given significant portions of money to Donald Trump. So, having said all of that, not my prediction, but what I think is going to happen, because obviously I don't know who's going to win. I think if the election remains untampered with, which I suspect that it won't be, the race between the two will be very close. Or the ruling class is going to step in and make it so that Hillary Clinton wins. I mean, Donald Trump is partially a wild card. We remain to be perfectly convinced of what he would really do if he was elected to office. But we know what Hillary Clinton would do. She has lots of lofty notions about social progress, but she's an imperialist warmonger just like all the rest. So I think that's likely what's going to happen. Either the race is going to be very close, or the bourgeoisie is going to step in and make Hillary win. So again, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, we've had a lot of U.S. elections tampered with, particularly as it relates to George Bush. One with the Supreme Court making the ruling in Bush's favor, and the controversy over Diebold electronic voter systems in Bush's second presidency, or second term as president. So we're going to have to sit back and try to enjoy the ride as best we can as the United States continues to become a political nightmare. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.